awesome to be here. Thanks to the Downtown Association and the Improv for having us this morning. I'm super excited to talk to you about this topic. I've been living and breathing this for over a year now, and you know, what's interesting about it is it sort of came in under the radar, under the Tax Act that was approved last year, or in late 2017. And funnily enough, it's sort of the one bipartisan element of the tax law, and it existed before the tax law existed, came out of some really interesting think tank work that was really trying to find ways to bring investment into neighborhoods that need it across the country. So what is this thing? Well, it's really a place-based economic incentive that provides favorable tax treatment to investors who reinvest their profits that ordinarily would be subject to capital gains into these communities. There's over 8,000 of them across the country, over 800 in California, and we in San Jose have 11. So I'm super excited to show you those. And a couple of quick things to know about this. This is all about rewarding patient capital, so long-term hold, not sort of quick flip type money. It's not for passive investments. This is not something that incentivizes, you know, buying a building and collecting that rent check, so-called mailbox money. It's really about improving building buildings, and it's not just real estate. This is a big thing I want you all to know. Companies that locate in these zones can access this investment, this new type of investment, kind of like the way startups get VC capital. It's different, but sort of similar. And this is going to be a big deal that more and more people are going to kind of clue into. And then we as the city are really looking forward to kind of guiding investment, connecting investors with opportunities, but this is a federal implementation, and that's important to know as well. So, we're going to go forward one. Maybe not. Oh, here we go. Thank you. So how does this thing work? This is super simplified. Josh Burroughs from Urban Catalyst can talk to you much more about this. But essentially, you're an investor. You've got capital gains. It can be from a real estate asset that you sold, or some Amazon stock, or any stock where you made some profit. You can elect to put that money into something called an opportunity fund. And that opportunity fund is the vehicle that then goes out and invests essentially in deals that are located in these zones. And so what's this benefit all about? For the investor, there's really three things. For one, that investor who ordinarily would be taxed quite heavily on those capital gains can defer payment of them for up to 10 years. They also get what's known as a partial forgiveness, up to 15% on their tax obligation of those gains. Eventually, the investor will pay taxes on those capital gains, but they can reduce what they pay. And this is the big one, the permanent exclusion. So the growth in value of that investment that the investor makes in the zone, that is what, if the investor holds and sells after 10 years, that investor does not have to pay any capital gains on the growth in value of the investment. And that's a really big deal, and that has a lot of people super excited about this incentive. Talk to your CPA, fair harbor statement here. There's a lot of rules that Josh can talk to you guys about. Why do we in the city, why are we paying attention to this? This is a big deal for us. Listen, we recognize what this really represents is a new source of capital to come in and hopefully get some of these projects actually built. You know, in downtown we've got a significant number of developers interested in building in downtown. And it's hard to get these projects built, as many of you know. And so a new source of capital to come in and partner with existing developers or bring in new developers can really help bring more projects to market, bring more people into downtown and drive our local economy further. We're also interested in bringing in more mission-driven investors. There are philanthropies and impact investors who are really interested in this, and we'd love to see them be active in our community. We have some goals for our zones, and kind of when we were looking at which census tracts we would like to be nominated in San Jose, we thought a lot about what are the census tracts that have capacity for growth, and where we already kind of have the in-place planning to guide growth. We thought about transit. It's important that we build up around transit. So you'll notice we have two BART stations, two future BART stations in our zones. We thought about diversifying the geography, so it's not just downtown. I want to make that really clear. And we thought about how we can use this incentive to drive our goals around equity. And so you'll notice there's quite a few areas that are included in our zones that are industrial areas. And the thinking there is that this could make those areas more attractive for employers that pay middle wage jobs and bring in middle skilled workers. So these are our zones in context. I'm just going to kind of flash through them, and then before I hand it over to Josh is going to talk to you more about downtown. It's actually 4 opportunity zones in our downtown area, and it's not all of downtown, sort of frustratingly, the way census tracts are drawn. We don't quite have everything, but we've got a lot. And there's, obviously a lot of different neighborhoods represented here. Talking about growth capacity, one really important thing to know about this incentive is that there are timelines involved. Investors have a limited amount of time to do deals and get the most benefit. And then they have other timelines where they have to deploy capital. And so what's really great about downtown is we have sort of projects that are closer to reality that are going to be really attractive. These are some examples. The other thing is renovations. These are examples of buildings that have really visionary investors that have come in to acquire them and bring them back to life. There's a lot more where this came from. This incentive can be used to do this kind of stuff as well. And this is great, right? Because it really brings some of these blighted blocks back to life. The other thing, these are some pictures of Moment. We're really interested in how this incentive can be used to invest in operating businesses. How cool would it be to have a fund that invests in some of these great retailers as they come out of the Moment shops and kind of help them land somewhere else? So we're really exploring how that would work. Other zones, I'm going to flash through really quick, kind of in the sphere of influence of downtown, or our near east side zones on Santa Clara Street and Alum Rock. There's a lot of really cool stuff that's possible here. Thinking about that north end near the Berryessa BART station, we think that could be a really interesting area to bring in additional jobs. Obviously, there's great opportunities here to reinvest in some of the commercial corridors. We talk about equitable job growth. We're talking about industrial type of real estate where you could bring in a factory. There's land out here. This is the Monterey Corridor Zone. Some pictures of that area. We just heard from the airport. We've got an airport in our zone, which could be really interesting. We're digging into that. But there's also a lot of opportunity in this area where you have those older motels. You could do some mixed-use development, and of course a lot of office space in the airport submarket as well. Some examples of stuff going on over there. And then East Ridge area. This is an interesting part of town. Really excited to have an opportunity zone on the east side as well. So some of the things we're thinking about, obviously investing in business, bringing more jobs and more diverse types of jobs, catalytic investments that can improve neighborhoods and bring streets back to life. And we're also really interested in affordable housing. There are some issues there in terms of how this incentive applies, but it could do some real good. So we're looking more into these issues. Infrastructure is another type of investment that theoretically is possible, as well as green energy. And we'd love to stay in touch. If you're really interested in this, please get in touch with me. And we're going to be talking about this a lot over the next year and beyond. So with that, I'm going to hand things over to Josh Burroughs.
Thank you, Nathan. Good morning, everybody. I was laughing earlier. One of our board members tonight, Gino DiBernardo, used to live literally on the other side of that wall and caught a lot of free shows here through the air vents. I'm kidding, we used to be paid. Walked over and paid. Let's see here.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Very good. I'm Josh Burroughs with Urban Catalyst, partner, and we are Silicon Valley's first multi-asset opportunity fund, and we are dedicated to downtown San Jose specifically. For us, multi-asset means that we invest our funds in multiple real estate projects, not just a single project. Projects for us mean anything from student housing to multi-tenant office for small to medium-sized businesses, senior assisted living and memory care, corporate housing and co-living projects, to hotels and retail, and sometimes a mix of those all in one building. Opportunity Fund means that we are a vehicle for investors with capital gains to place money into our zone. And in exchange for them agreeing to be long-term investors, which means 10 plus years, they will receive certain tax advantages. That's from a high level. So for the investor, that means a deferral of the tax they were going to pay on their capital gain when they sell something. It could be stocks, it could be property, a business. So you don't have to pay that tax bill for 7 years. And in year 7, you actually get a 15% discount off that tax when you pay it. But the big thing is at the end of the term, on the fund life cycle, you don't pay any federal taxes on the profit you make from the fund. So it's a big incentive to be a long-term investor. Nathan spoke a little bit about how the program works, but to recap from a high level and just to be a little bit more clear, this tax law was put into place in order to incentivize long-term investing inside the opportunity zones. Get money off the sidelines and into projects, get the projects out of the ground, and ultimately spur economic development. And this is the game changer for San Jose's economic development engine, specifically our downtown zone. In this next slide, you can see our downtown San Jose zone, kind of flanked by San Jose State on the east, you have Diridon on the west. It goes almost to the edge of it follows almost to the edge of our current downtown core boundary on the north. These are projects that have been completed in the last, let's call it 5 years, downtown in orange. This in blue are projects that are under construction. This next slide right here with yellow, this is the potential development pipeline, including everything that you've seen in the newspapers and things that we know or have not hit the papers yet. It's everything from residential to hotels and retail. This is a completely changed downtown. What it really shows though, what you're looking at here, this is thousands of housing units. This is millions of square feet of space for companies to expand in. Hundreds of potential new retailers and restaurants. Thousands of places for visitors and guests to stay at a hotel. That's probably 200 new startups that could be the next Adobe. It's an integrated urban university in San Jose State. There's a Levitt Pavilion in there. There's a San Jose Light Tower in there. You're also looking at the largest children's musical theater in the country. There's renovated historic buildings. There's rooftop bars. There's showrooms for local artists. Ultimately, what this is a thriving downtown. That means active storefronts, shops where you can actually buy things in person instead of on Amazon, sold out shows for our community theaters, daily farmers markets, lines around the block to check out the new art exhibit, no homeless on the streets because we housed them, an increased tax base for the city's general fund so it can pay for things like maintaining our parks or hiring police officers and firefighters. This image is density and it's diversity, but at the deep down core, this image is quality of life and an amazing user experience. And the Opportunity Zone program can help catapult this vision into existence. If you know me, you know I love downtown. I've spent my entire life here working to bolster our urban environment. And I can't help but feel that we're on the verge and the edge of a great renaissance. But we need tools to build this house. And we hope that our $250 million fund goal for Urban Catalyst can be leveraged into $1 billion of impact steps from where we're sitting today. So we look forward to working with all of you over the next decade as we strive to be an urban catalyst for downtown San Jose. Thank you.